The crowd was screaming. More than 60,000 people stood packed inside a stadium in Africa. The air felt heavy. The noise felt endless. And in one corner stood the most dangerous fighter on earth. George Foreman, a champion who seemed unstoppable. A man who had destroyed nearly everyone placed in front of him. Many believed he was invincible. Many believed nobody could survive his power. And standing across the ring was Muhammad Ali. Older, slower, written off by experts. A former champion many believed had stayed around too long. But nobody knew what was really happening. Because, while George Foreman was preparing for a fight, Muhammad Ali was preparing for history. And before the night ended, one of them would become immortal. The other would experience the greatest shock of his career. The story began long before the opening bell. To understand what happened in Zaire, you first have to understand George Foreman. By 1974, Foreman wasn't simply heavyweight champion. He was a wrecking machine. His victories looked frightening. His punches seemed almost unfair. Opponents didn't lose to George Foreman. They collapsed. The most shocking example came against Joe Frazier. The same Joe Frazier who had defeated Muhammad Ali. The same Joe Frazier who was considered one of the toughest fighters alive. Foreman knocked him down again. And again. And again. The image stunned the boxing world. Many people thought they were witnessing the future of heavyweight boxing. Young, strong, explosive, unstoppable. Then Foreman destroyed Ken Norton, another fighter who had beaten Muhammad Ali. The result wasn't competitive. It was domination. Suddenly, a terrifying question spread through boxing. If Foreman could destroy the men who beat Ali, what would happen if Foreman actually fought Ali? Most people thought they already knew the answer. Muhammad Ali would be knocked out. The only debate was how long it would take. But Ali didn't agree, not even for a second. And George Foreman didn't know. Ali had already started building a plan. A dangerous plan. A risky plan. A plan nobody else could understand. As negotiations continued, the fight became larger than boxing. Promoters wanted something unforgettable. Something global. Something historic. Eventually, the event found its home. Zaire, a nation in Central Africa. For Ali, the location felt special. He wasn't just traveling to another country. He was returning to a continent he deeply respected. The reception shocked everyone. Wherever Ali went, crowds followed. Children followed. Families followed. Entire streets filled with people chanting his name. Ali. Bomaye. Ali. Bomaye. The words echoed everywhere. The phrase meant Ali, kill him. The support energized him. Everywhere he looked, people smiled. People cheered. People celebrated. Ali seemed less like a boxer and more like a king returning home. Meanwhile, George Foreman experienced something very different. He remained respected, but the crowds belonged to Ali. The energy belonged to Ali. The attention belonged to Ali. And slowly, without anyone realizing it, psychological pressure began building. Because George Foreman wasn't used to being overshadowed, especially before the biggest fight of his life. But Foreman didn't know. Ali was fighting a mental battle before the physical battle even started. Training camp revealed even more differences. Foreman trained with intensity. Everything looked serious. Everything looked powerful. Every punch seemed capable of ending a fight. Reporters watched in awe. Ali trained differently. He joked, smiled, talked constantly, entertained crowds. Many observers believed he wasn't taking the challenge seriously. They couldn't have been more wrong. Behind the jokes and laughter, Ali studied everything. Foreman's habits, Foreman's rhythm, Foreman's strengths, Foreman's weaknesses. Because Ali understood something important. George Foreman possessed incredible power. But power alone doesn't guarantee victory. Sometimes the strongest fighter loses. Sometimes the smartest fighter wins. And Ali believed intelligence would decide everything. But George Foreman didn't know. Ali had already identified the champion's biggest weakness. As fight night approached, tensions spread across the world. Millions waited. Millions debated. Millions predicted disaster. Most experts selected Foreman. The reasoning seemed simple. He was younger, stronger, more explosive, more destructive. Many boxing writers openly questioned Ali's chances. Some predicted an early knockout. Others predicted a brutal knockout. Very few predicted victory. Muhammad Ali listened carefully, then smiled, because being doubted wasn't new. He had heard the same predictions before Sonny Liston. He had heard the same predictions before other great fights. And every time people underestimated him, he became more dangerous. The atmosphere inside the stadium felt electric as fight night finally arrived. Thousands packed into the venue. Millions more watched around the world. History waited. Legacies waited. Everything waited. Then Muhammad Ali entered the stadium. The reaction felt deafening. The crowd erupted instantly. People stood. People screamed. People celebrated. Ali waved calmly, absorbing every second, enjoying every moment. Across the ring, George Foreman looked focused, serious, ready. The heavyweight champion appeared calm, but beneath that calm exterior sat enormous pressure, because champions carry expectations. And tonight, everyone expected George Foreman to win. The introductions began. The crowd roared. Officials completed final instructions. Both fighters returned to their corners. The moment had arrived. Years of preparation. Months of anticipation. A lifetime of sacrifice. Everything came down to this. Then the bell rang. And within seconds, Muhammad Ali did something nobody expected. Instead of running, instead of dancing, instead of staying away from danger, he moved directly toward George Foreman. The crowd gasped. Commentators sounded stunned, because this strategy made no sense. Foreman possessed terrifying power. Why would Ali willingly move closer? The champion seemed surprised too. But George Foreman didn't know. The trap had already been set. And with every second that passed, he was walking deeper into it. The opening moments left everyone confused. Muhammad Ali wasn't fighting the way Muhammad Ali usually fought. The former champion wasn't dancing endlessly around the ring. He wasn't circling at long range. He wasn't staying safely away from George Foreman's power. Instead, he stood directly in front of him, close enough to touch, close enough to trade punches, close enough to be knocked unconscious. The crowd couldn't believe it. Neither could Foreman. The champion immediately began throwing heavy punches. Boom, boom, boom. Every shot carried frightening force. The sound alone made spectators nervous. But Ali wasn't backing away. In fact, he was punching back. Fast jabs snapped into Foreman's face. Sharp right hands followed. The champion looked surprised. Nobody expected Ali to attack first. Nobody expected Ali to fight aggressively. And George Foreman didn't know. Ali wanted him confused. Because confusion creates mistakes. The first round became a psychological battle. Foreman expected fear. Ali showed confidence. Foreman expected movement. Ali stood his ground. Foreman expected survival. Ali looked ready for war. Several times Ali landed clean punches. Not knockout punches, but meaningful punches. The kind that send messages. The kind that say, I belong here. Each successful shot energized the crowd. Each successful shot frustrated Foreman. Because champions hate surprises. And tonight, Muhammad Ali was full of surprises. As the round continued, Ali leaned toward Foreman and began talking. Constantly. Relentlessly. The words were difficult for spectators to hear. But Foreman remembered them later. Ali challenged him, mocked him, questioned him. Every sentence carried purpose. Muhammad Ali understood something important. A fighter's body becomes tired. But a fighter's mind becomes tired first. And George Foreman didn't know. Ali had started attacking both. The bell ended the first round. The crowd erupted. Nobody knew who would win. But everyone knew something unusual was happening. This wasn't following the script experts predicted. This wasn't the easy Foreman victory many expected. Something felt different. Something felt dangerous. And Muhammad Ali appeared completely comfortable. Back in his corner, Ali listened quietly. His trainer spoke calmly. Across the ring, Foreman's corner looked focused but concerned. The champion had won many fights. But he wasn't used to opponents acting like this. He wasn't used to opponents smiling after taking punches. He wasn't used to opponents talking nonstop. And he certainly wasn't used to opponents welcoming exchanges. The second round began. And suddenly Ali revealed another part of his plan. A shocking part. A part that would become legendary. Muhammad Ali moved backward toward the ropes. At first it looked accidental. Then it happened again. And again. And again. Soon the entire world realized he was doing it intentionally. Ali leaned against the ropes. George Foreman followed. The champion immediately attacked. Power shots crashed toward Ali's body. Hooks, uppercuts, crosses. Foreman threw everything. The crowd gasped repeatedly, because Ali appeared trapped. Yet strangely, he didn't look worried. Instead, he covered up carefully, absorbed some punches, avoided others, and waited. Then he talked again. "That's all you've got, George?" Foreman kept punching. Ali kept talking. The champion kept attacking. Ali kept surviving. And George Foreman didn't know. He was spending energy like a man throwing money into a fire. The rounds began blending together. Foreman attacked relentlessly. Ali leaned against the ropes. The strategy looked insane. Many watching believed Ali was making a terrible mistake. The commentators worried openly. Fans feared disaster. Every punch looked dangerous. Every exchange looked risky. But Ali remained calm, because he understood something nobody else fully understood. George Foreman had never been forced to fight this way before. Most opponents collapsed early. Most opponents panicked. Most opponents broke. Ali wasn't breaking. He was waiting. Waiting for something. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for fatigue. And George Foreman didn't know. Fatigue was already beginning. By round 3, Foreman's breathing looked slightly heavier. Not dramatic. Not obvious. But noticeable. Especially to Muhammad Ali. The former champion saw everything. A slower step. A longer exhale. A delayed reaction. Tiny details. Most people missed them. Ali didn't. Because champions notice things ordinary people overlook. Foreman continued throwing bombs. Many landed on arms. Many landed on shoulders. Some landed on Ali's body. But every punch required effort. Every punch demanded energy. And energy eventually runs out. Ali understood that. Foreman didn't. At least not yet. Then came another surprise. Suddenly Ali exploded off the ropes. Sharp combinations landed directly on Foreman's face. 1, 2, 3. The champion stumbled backwards slightly. The crowd roared. Ali attacked again. More punches. More speed. More confidence. Then just as quickly he returned to the ropes. The sequence confused everyone. Especially George Foreman. Because now the champion couldn't predict what was coming next. And uncertainty is dangerous. Particularly inside a boxing ring. As round 4 began, frustration started appearing. Not from Ali. From Foreman. The champion expected results. He expected damage. He expected fear. Instead, he received resistance. Every hard punch seemed followed by another Ali smile. Every attack seemed followed by another insult. Every success felt temporary. And frustration slowly became anger. George Foreman punched harder. Faster. More aggressively. Exactly what Ali wanted. Because angry fighters make emotional decisions. And emotional decisions often create mistakes. The crowd could sense the tension growing. Something was changing. Something important. For the first time all night, Foreman looked uncomfortable. Not physically. Mentally. And George Foreman didn't know. He was entering the most dangerous phase of the fight. By round 5, Ali's confidence looked unbelievable. He leaned against the ropes and spoke directly to Foreman. "George, they told me you could punch." Another combination crashed into Ali's arms. Ali smiled. "I expected more." The words stung. Not because they were true, but because Foreman desperately wanted to prove they weren't. So he punched harder. And harder. And harder. Exactly as Ali hoped. Each attack consumed more energy. Each missed opportunity increased frustration. Each passing minute pushed the champion deeper into unfamiliar territory. Because George Foreman wasn't used to long fights. He wasn't used to opponents refusing to surrender. He wasn't used to psychological warfare. Muhammad Ali specialized in psychological warfare. And tonight, he was conducting a masterpiece. Meanwhile, the crowd remained divided. Some feared Ali was absorbing too much punishment. Others sensed genius unfolding. Nobody knew for certain. Only Ali knew. Only Ali understood the full plan. And George Foreman didn't know. The trap was nearly closed. Round 6 became one of the most important rounds of the entire fight. Foreman's punches remained powerful, but they looked slower now. His feet moved less efficiently. His reactions became slightly delayed. The changes were subtle, but Ali recognized them immediately. The former champion began firing more combinations. 3 punches. 4 punches. Sometimes 5. Foreman still landed occasionally, but the balance was shifting. For the first time all night, Ali appeared fresher. The younger, stronger champion looked older. The older challenger looked younger. The crowd noticed. Commentators noticed. And eventually George Foreman noticed too. That realization frightened him. Because champions expect opponents to fade. Muhammad Ali wasn't fading. He was growing stronger. And George Foreman didn't know. The nightmare was only beginning. As round 7 approached, tension filled the stadium. Every person sensed something historic approaching. The atmosphere felt different, heavier, more dramatic. The fight had become far more than a contest for the heavyweight championship. It had become a battle of wills. A battle of intelligence versus power. A battle between 2 completely different visions of greatness. One man believed strength ruled boxing. The other believed strategy ruled boxing. Only one could be right. And as the 7th round began, the answer was getting closer. Closer than anyone realized. Closer than George Foreman realized. Closer than the world realized. Because Muhammad Ali was preparing to make his move. The move that would shock millions. The move that would become one of the most famous moments in sports history. And when it happened, boxing would never be the same again. Round 7 began with a feeling that was impossible to ignore. Something was changing. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but undeniably. George Foreman was slowing down. The heavyweight champion still looked dangerous. His punches still carried frightening power. But the explosive force that had terrified boxing for years was beginning to fade. Every movement required more effort. Every attack took a little longer. Every breath seemed heavier. Muhammad Ali noticed immediately. He always noticed. Great fighters see things before everyone else. And what Ali saw gave him confidence. The plan was working. Every minute spent against the ropes. Every punch absorbed on his arms. Every insult whispered into Foreman's ear. Every second of patience. It had all been leading here. And George Foreman didn't know. The fight was beginning to slip away. Foreman came forward once again. The champion refused to surrender. He threw hooks toward Ali's body. Heavy shots toward the ribs. Power punches toward the head. But now there was something different. The punches no longer arrived in endless waves. There were pauses. Small pauses. Moments where Foreman simply stood there. Moments where exhaustion became visible. Ali recognized every one of them. Suddenly the challenger exploded forward. A sharp right hand landed clean. Another jab followed. Then a quick combination snapped Foreman's head backward. The crowd erupted. The noise rolled through the stadium like thunder. For the first time all night, George Foreman looked vulnerable. Not beaten. Not defeated. Vulnerable. And vulnerability changes everything inside a boxing ring. Ali returned to the ropes briefly. Still following the plan. Still forcing Foreman to work.
Still draining whatever energy remained. The champion continued attacking. But the attacks lacked their earlier violence. His arms looked heavier. His feet looked slower. His reactions looked delayed. The crowd could see it. Commentators could see it. And Muhammad Ali could definitely see it. But George Foreman didn't know. Ali was already preparing the ending. The final seconds of round 7 felt symbolic. Foreman pushed forward. Ali fired quick combinations. The champion absorbed punches he would normally avoid. The challenger looked fresh. The champion looked tired. The roles had completely reversed. When the bell sounded, Ali walked calmly toward his corner. Foreman moved more slowly. Nobody said aloud, but many people inside the stadium were thinking the same thing. Muhammad Ali might actually win this fight, not survive it, not compete in it, win it. And George Foreman didn't know. He had only one round left as champion. As round 8 began, the atmosphere became electric. 60,000 people stood watching history approach. Nobody blinked. Nobody looked away. Because something important was about to happen. Ali moved away from the ropes more frequently now. His feet looked light. His hands looked fast. His confidence seemed limitless. Foreman followed, still determined, still dangerous, still trying to land one fight-changing punch. The champion launched another attack. Several punches flew toward Ali's body. Ali blocked most of them. Then came the moment that would live forever, the moment that transformed a great fighter into an immortal legend. Foreman stepped forward. Ali stepped off the ropes. A quick right hand landed. Then another. Foreman's head moved backward. The champion tried responding. Ali fired again. A left, a right, another right. Everything happened in seconds. Too fast for most people to fully understand. Foreman suddenly looked confused, off balance, vulnerable, and Muhammad Ali saw his opening. The opening he had spent 7 rounds creating. The opening he had spent months planning. The opening nobody else believed would ever appear. Ali unleashed a lightning-fast combination. A sharp right hand landed perfectly. Clean, precise, devastating. Foreman's head snapped backward. His legs betrayed him instantly. For a brief second, the giant champion seemed frozen. Then gravity took over. George Foreman fell. The entire stadium exploded. People screamed. People jumped. People stared in disbelief. The most feared heavyweight on earth was lying on the canvas. The image looked impossible, yet it was real, and George Foreman didn't know. He had just become part of sports history. The referee began counting. 1, 2, 3. Foreman tried standing. His body refused. 4, 5, 6. The crowd became louder. 7, 8. The champion struggled desperately. 9. And then it was over. The fight ended. Muhammad Ali had done it. Again, the impossible, the unbelievable, the unimaginable. George Foreman remained defeated on the canvas. Muhammad Ali raised his arms. The stadium erupted into absolute chaos. The rumble in the jungle had its ending, and what an ending it was. Ali stood in the center of the ring, surrounded by photographers, reporters, officials, and supporters. Every face showed the same emotion, shock. Nobody expected this outcome. Nobody expected the older challenger to defeat the younger champion. Nobody expected strategy to conquer power. Yet, that's exactly what happened. Muhammad Ali had reclaimed the heavyweight championship of the world, not through strength, not through luck, through intelligence, through courage, through belief. And George Foreman didn't know. This defeat would eventually become one of the most important experiences of his life. Back in his corner, Foreman struggled to understand what had happened. For years, he had overwhelmed opponents. For years, his power solved every problem. Tonight, it wasn't enough. Muhammad Ali had shown him something different, a different level of greatness, a different level of discipline, a different level of boxing intelligence. Years later, Foreman would speak respectfully about Ali, because with time came understanding, and with understanding came admiration. He realized he hadn't simply lost a fighter. He had lost one of the greatest minds the sport had ever seen. Meanwhile, Muhammad Ali celebrated one of the greatest victories in sports history. The images traveled around the world. Newspapers carried them on front pages. Television stations replayed them endlessly. Millions watched in amazement. The victory instantly became larger than boxing. It became a symbol, a reminder that experience can overcome youth, a reminder that intelligence can overcome strength, a reminder that belief can overcome doubt. The story inspired people far beyond sports, because everyone understands being underestimated. Everyone understands being doubted. Everyone understands hearing others say something cannot be done. Muhammad Ali heard those voices constantly. Before Sonny Liston, before Joe Frazier, before George Foreman. Yet he never stopped believing. That belief carried him all the way to Zaire, and that belief changed history. Today, decades later, the Rumble in the Jungle remains one of the most famous fights ever held, not because of money, not because of controversy, because of what happened inside the ring. A seemingly impossible challenge, a brilliant strategy, an unforgettable knockout, and a champion proving once again that greatness is about more than physical power. It's about courage under pressure. It's about thinking clearly when others panic. It's about trusting yourself when nobody else does. That night in Africa, Muhammad Ali gave the world a lesson that extended far beyond boxing. He showed that the strongest person doesn't always win. Sometimes the person who understands a game better wins. Sometimes patience defeats force. Sometimes intelligence defeats power. And sometimes a man everyone counted out creates a moment the world never forgets. The crowd eventually left the stadium. The lights eventually dimmed. The noise eventually faded. But the legend never disappeared. Because long after the final bell rang, one image remained. Muhammad Ali standing victorious. George Foreman defeated. And an entire world realizing it had just witnessed greatness. The Rumble in the Jungle wasn't simply a fight. It was history. And Muhammad Ali made sure nobody would ever forget it. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more legendary boxing documentaries covering Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Sonny Liston, Mike Tyson, Larry Holmes, and the unforgettable moments that changed boxing forever.